This is a little bit of a rant video, and it might get a little spicy because in my personal opinion, if you are building within Laravel, especially if you're coming from the JavaScript ecosystem, you're probably not going to want to use React or Vue or Svelte with Inertia within Laravel. You probably are going to want to use Livewire. Okay, that opinion isn't just clickbait. Seriously, it's something that I truly believe. Now, I love Inertia, and I think there's going to be amazing things to come out of Inertia, especially as the Laravel team focuses on building out Inertia, and you're probably going to see a bunch of it at Laracon in the next couple of weeks. But why would I say that people who are coming from the JavaScript ecosystem, so if you're watching this video and you have been following along with the JS to Laravel marketing that I've been trying to put out, most of the time, if you're frustrated with the JavaScript ecosystem, you're fine with learning a new syntax, you're fine with learning PHP, but you still have this mindset of I want to build things the way I have been building, just with a little bit more niceties, a little bit more magic, a little bit more things given to me out of the box. I have videos galore on this because it's something that's very personal, very passionate, that I'm passionate about. And Inertia is great. But here's why I don't think it works great for people who are used to doing things in the JavaScript ecosystem, because it starts with a very MVC mindset mentality. Now, this might change with the things like server components within React, and it might change like how you write Inertia components talking to a Laravel backend. Maybe you are writing server-side logic within a React component and, fetching and querying data that way. But currently that's not the case. If I was to write a Inertia component within React, this is showing it within Vue, but it's the same thing with React. I have this front end, and I'm basically just getting props from my backend. We're passing users to this users.view. If I want to do something simple, make a button, and I then want to have this button kickstart a queue within Laravel. Let's say I have this queue system within Laravel where I click this button and I send an email to all of my users within my database. Okay, within Inertia front end, within Vue, React, Svelte, whatever have you, on the front end, I would create a button with a form, and then I would have to hook that up to a controller in Laravel. And if you've been writing in modern Remix, in modern Next.js, in modern SvelteKit, that just seems a little weird sometimes because you're just not used to it. Again, it doesn't mean that this is wrong. I think this is fantastic, especially with bigger code bases. But if you're looking to do something just simple, quick, and easy, most of the time that takes you out of the flow of work. I have to create a new form with a button to hit a new controller, and in that controller I want to kickstart a queue, and then I have to deal with the error messaging and handling and everything like that. There's the logic and Vue are separated. This is why I think Livewire is perfect for people who are wanting to build things quickly, especially if you're maybe like a single solo developer within the Laravel ecosystem, because you get all of the niceties within Laravel, but you write it in a way that feels very single file component React, server component type React, Next.js type React, where you have all of your hooks, if you will, and you have your server code that you're writing. Again, this is probably the people who have kept up with the bleeding edge stuff. So if you're still writing MVC type React, yes, Inertia, perfect for you. If your team's still writing MVC type stuff, or you like the SvelteKit style way where you have separation of concerns between your logic and your Vue, yes, Inertia is perfect for you because you have that separation. Me, I like, again, personal opinion, I hate that I got to say it, but I like having things in one file. I like having a button where I can be like, oh yeah, I need to send off a queue. And then I have some server state just a couple of lines up. I just scroll to the top of the file and I have that button to kickstart the queue. I can do all of that without having to create a new controller, a new route within that controller. It's because it's probably going to be like post, email, send email controller, and then I have to write the queue all in that controller, and then use the form within Inertia to kickstart all of that. This is why I think the difference between Livewire and Volt doesn't really come down to or Livewire and Inertia, I should say, doesn't really come down to, okay, what kind of application are you building? I think the limitations of Livewire in that sense, especially with Livewire 3, they've deteriorated. You're not worrying about, okay, if it's a very heavy client-side application, then I'm going to use React or Vue. No, I don't think that's the case. If I'm using React, if I'm using Inertia, one of the things that I am passionate about within that is using API resources, because here's another element that I think I like better within Livewire is if I'm querying and say, okay, I want to display the username to someone, just, hey, when you're logged in, here's your username. Hello there, Josh. You have to be careful that you're not sending all of the user's information to the page within React Inertia, Vue Inertia, Svelte Inertia, because it's just an API. You're sending that data. You're not server rendering that data unless you're using server rendering Inertia. What API resources allow you to do is say, I only want to send this information to the resource. And so it's just another step that you have to think through of, okay, am I only sending the information I need? And yes, you might think, hey, Josh, it's good to be security conscious. Yes, it is. It is very good. But when I'm building things very quickly and I'm just like, hey, I want to get this idea out on the page, I like just knowing I can use a Blade template or use some server rendered PHP in my Volt, my Livewire component, and just say, I just want the user name. And I'm only displaying and retrieving the user's name. I'm not displaying or retrieving the user's Stripe token or the user's birthday. And then last but not least, one of the things that I always like to come back to when people talk about, okay, should I use Inertia and should I learn Inertia and use the skills that I have within Vue, within React, within Svelte, or should I learn Livewire and just go all in on the Laravel way? And there's some great and fantastic videos, great and fantastic resources. I don't necessarily think it's a us versus them. I think it depends on your specific coding style, your team's specific coding style, and then what are you looking to do and how are you looking to build? If you are, like me, you like building scrappy. Let's create a new component within Volt, and I just want all of the logic in this one component until it gets a little bit too big for my liking, and then I'm going to separate into different components, and I just have everything where I need it. Yes, it's going to be a new syntax for you where it's not going to look exactly or feel exactly like React or Vue or Svelte, but it allows you to get there scrappily. It allows you to get there easily and allows you to get there quickly. Now, if you like planning things out, I think then Inertia would be great for you, because then you can say, okay, how am I going to do things in the cruddy way? Where I have, this is a page that is, create user. Then I have update user. Then I have delete user. And I like having those separation concerns. I like having things logically separated in all of those aspects. If that's how you think and how your brain works and program, go for it. That's awesome. I love it. For me, that's not necessarily how my brain works. I'm not as organized in my thoughts of how I'm building something. I like to getting something on the page. And again, Inertia is great for all of those items because you get the opportunity to think, what specific information am I actually sending to the user? When I'm passing in this users right here, it even shows it on this page. We only want to get the ID, name, email. When you slow down and you're creating code with Inertia, it helps you think like this because, okay, what form do I need? What route do I need? What controller do I need in order to get this information? It allows you to have those separation concerns between what is on the server, what is on the client. Within Volt, within Livewire, it doesn't necessarily have the same concerns. Everything's kind of server and everything's kind of client, and it's all intermingled. You have this, which just runs purely on the server, but you also have all of this can be queried from the client, and so you have to worry about security in that aspect, but it's more tightly knit in a way. And for me, I love that. I love knowing, okay, all of this is server rendered and it's passed to the client. And then anything a button that happens here, it's an AJAX call to the server. That helps me in a way. Instead of thinking in my mind of, okay, I have this form button and then I have this API route that I can access, that Inertia just gives me that glue to hold it all together. And then the last thing I would try to say, if you're just trying to decide between something like Inertia with React, Vue, Svelte, or something like Livewire, is the ecosystem and the community is fantastic for both sides of this. There's so many things being built in Livewire. There's so many things being built within Inertia. Regardless of how you think, how you build, what your style is within code, you're going to find some great resources for it. But if you're already used to this aspect of, okay, I have these 3 or 4 React packages or 3 or 4 Vue packages, how am I going to find something like that for Laravel and Livewire? Then stick with Vue, stick with React and use Inertia, or use Next.js and use SvelteKit and use Laravel with the API just to start off with, maybe using it with your queues or using it within mailing, for example. Well, if you're not necessarily concerned about that, there are some options of, okay, I just want one page where I have Tremor to be able to display some React components. There are some options. Mingle.js, which allows you to have React and Vue code intermingled with your Livewire components. So there's options out there on both sides of the coin. It all depends on really not what are you building. I think there's benefits and disadvantages, both sides of the coin for that, of heavy server side, heavy client. And there's some things that both sides do really great. Again, it's not an us versus them. It's a, how do you work? How do you build? How do you want things to look? Are you very organized and you like the separation of concerns between React, the client side, and your server? Or are you someone who let's just start building things. Let's just make something happen. And if I need a button on my front end to be able to talk to my back end really simply, Livewire might be for you. So again, the biggest part about this is if you're still thinking of, okay, what are the things that I need to learn in order to build something within Laravel? I already know Vue, I already know React, I already know Svelte. I would say just start building something. My personal opinion is maybe just start building something in Livewire Volt. Even if you don't know the syntax, you can get this. I know you can. I believe in you. But even if you want to start with something like Inertia, just go do it. Just start building something. Just start creating something. And as you go, just keep creating.